community and having people available. It's just amazing. So we appreciate you guys joining the live feed and what a great cast that we have today. I've got my co-host on, Sandra Rogers.
Hey, Ryan.
Who's the network VoiceAmerica. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Good to see you.
Yes, it's great to see you too. And we have some great hosts lined up to talk today about Women's History Month. And of course, Monday was International Women's Day. So kudos to all of you women. I just got off of a stereo broadcast that I was doing with one of our producers, Tracy Motley, where we were talking about all of the, instrumental women that were in our lives, me growing up with a single mom and how strong she was, and how she was instrumental in certain things, and him and his mom and his sisters. And so if you guys get a chance to go on stereo to go check that stuff out, we would definitely love you to check that out. And it was all based on a show that we did that aired this week with a woman CEO who was just absolutely amazing. So I implore you guys all to go check out the Finding Your Frequency broadcast that happened earlier today. It was very wonderful. Shameless self-promotion. Sorry, I got to do it. But Sandra, I mean, it's International Women's Day. It was on Monday.
Yes.
Like, totally dope. Like, how many women out there are like, just really getting it done? We had this conversation about just stepping up and taking charge, right? Which is what I see a lot of female entrepreneurs and business owners and executives doing now more than ever. And I think 2020 and the pandemic really paved the way for a whole bunch of new, inspiring opportunities for female entrepreneurs to really get out there and to create businesses that foster a culture of gender equality and all of those types of things. And I think, I had mentioned something earlier about how 100 years ago we dealt with the Spanish flu. Now we're dealing with the COVID, whatever. And it just so happens to coincide in the same almost 100-year cycle where, oh my goodness, guess what's going to happen? We're going to rebound from this, and it's going to be the roaring 20s all over again. There's so much opportunity abound for everybody. It's amazing.
Hey, that's a very positive outlook, because I know a lot of us are tired of being indoors and tired of this social distancing, and we do want to get out into the world, and we do want to mingle. And but I'm grateful for these opportunities that we have here as well, Ryan, when we can get together and reflect on people who have influenced us and people who have influenced us in our lives, and especially as we're honoring International Women's Month and International Women's Day, to think about those trailblazers as women who opened the doors, who created opportunities that we are now able to walk into. And we still are kicking and screaming. We're still fighting for equality. We're still fighting for things, but still the door has been opened for that. And so it is an honor to be a part of this program where we are highlighting and featuring some of our women hosts, our women entrepreneurs, our trailblazers, the hosts here that have taken time out of their lives to educate us and teach us and reach others and make a difference in people's lives. So I'm so grateful to be a part of this program. And, I know we have some wonderful women hosts or guests that are on with us today. So we definitely want to bring them on into the conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And I just have to go out and say that these women trailblazers that we're having on today are exceptional human beings. I have had the opportunity to work with everybody that's going to be on today in some way, shape, or form, whether it was, in the early days of, running Disability Matters with Joyce Bender as an audio engineer, and also Patricia Raskin show when she was on. I kind of got thrown in the mix. And, one of the things that I hold so valuable with my time and experience with all of these fantastic trailblazers is, I've learned so much as just like a human being and as a man on how important everybody is, and inclusion and all of those components are to our everyday life. And the stuff that Joyce Bender, who's going to be coming on right now, the things that she's done all the way back into the 90s with the Americans with Disabilities Act, all the different things that she's done in trailblazing for those kind of things, helping to get competitive employment and empowerment for people with disabilities. It's always been the emphasis of her show. And she even goes to the extent of broadcasting it live with captions in real time, so that way individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing can listen to the show or watch the show and come away with that stuff. And the fact that she's so forward thinking in that space to allow those technologies to exist and to leverage those to make sure that it's hitting her audience has just been amazing. She's been doing it now for 18 years on the network. So first, I want to welcome to the stream Joyce Bender. Joyce is the host of Disability Matters on the VoiceAmerica Variety channel that's on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Joyce, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and hello to you, Ryan. My first producer, engineer, my first engineer, and Sandra, it's so nice to talk to you. I want to commend both of you and the station for acknowledging, National Women's Month. That brings so much credibility and vision to everything you're doing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure.
Well, and thank you, because if it wasn't for people like you contributing into society in the manner that you do, there wouldn't be as much awareness around disabilities, and just the fact that you in and of yourself are a female, and you're pushing and lobbying and doing all of these things. You're hurdling things that are so difficult to navigate, especially back in the 90s when you started working Americans with Disabilities Act. The gender equality gap then versus now was so different, right? And so it's great to work with awesome women. And I was talking to Tracy, and one of the things that we said is and Sandra, you came up in this conversation because it was like, I should never have to introduce somebody and saying, hey, this is a woman and she's a strong woman and she's a great woman. Like, I shouldn't have to say any of that. Like, a person and their merit, a person and who they are, how they carry themselves, all of those things are what matters. The gender doesn't matter. What matters is who you are as a person and what are you contributing to society as a human being, regardless of gender. Put that out. Done.
Well, I'm gonna agree to that. And I know that we have some challenges still in that space. But I also know that we're not willing to settle any longer and stay in that space to just be minimalized. And so we see these movements that are happening, and we have our first vice president, female vice president. We hate to say first in things like that, but we still are referencing things in that manner.
She's not just a vice president. She's
but we have all of these changes, the shift that's happening, and it's because we're stepping up and stepping out more, and maybe COVID had something to do with that. I don't know, but maybe it's just time. Joyce, I want to say that I read, your story about how you even got in the space of Disability Matters and what you're fighting for and that sort of thing. And, it had a common theme, with many of our hosts, and I speak with them, and they give us their why for doing their show. And it comes from a personal space in them, an experience, and then they just take it out from there. So I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but can you share your why for doing what you do?
Of course.
And maybe from there, just talk about the work and the accomplishments that you have achieved.
All right. And I want to say this first. This is the only show dedicated to people with disabilities of this type of show where people throughout the world can go and hear what's going on for people. But as for me, when I grew up, I had these very strange fainting spells that were misdiagnosed by my doctor. And by the way, that often happens to women, since we're talking about, women and equality. But it was misdiagnosed, and in 1985, I went to see a movie, and at the intermission, I went to get a soda, and I had a seizure, and I hit the floor so hard, I fractured my skull, had an intracranial brain hemorrhage. I broke the bones in my right inner ear, which is why I wear a hearing aid, and I was rushed to the hospital and had life-saving brain surgery. And against all odds, I had this miraculous recovery. But you know how they say something can define the rest of your life? That night, that seizure would define the rest of my life. And I'm on a crusade. I did volunteer work for years. And then 26 years ago, I founded Bender Consulting Services, a for-profit company that focuses on the employment of people with disabilities. And as the years went on, I became more involved in the disability rights community. In 1999, I received the President's Award at the White House from President Clinton, and then from the Bush administration. And I did a lot of work with President Obama. But you know what? That's all great, and I'm so proud. But at the end of the day, it's about hiring people with disabilities. That is where the rubber meets the road.
Joyce, do you also lobby before Congress for disability, for individuals with disability, or changing certain laws and provisions?
I have testified twice.
Yes.
Once before EEOC and once before Senate in reference to changes that we want to see happen. But in addition to that, I am the vice chair of the board of the American Association of People with Disabilities. Our chair is Ted Kennedy Jr., and that's all we're about. We are advocates to see policy change in the government, and I've been involved in that for years.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've helped quite a few. Sorry, Ryan. I'm sure you've helped quite a few, and I mean I'm sure you've helped quite a few disabled individuals, and your program, no doubt, gives that information, educates, and empowers your listeners. And I'm sure many other people are benefiting from this show as well.
Yeah, I work all across the United States. Finding employment for people with disabilities in mathematics, IT, engineering, from the private sector to the Department of Defense. And we sell a software product now called iDisability that companies purchase to learn how to communicate with people with disabilities, because our problem, Sandra, is stigma. Even today, 70% of people with disabilities are not counted in the workforce. So my hope is through education and training, as President Bush said when he signed the Americans with Disabilities Act, let the shameful wall of exclusion finally come tumbling down.
Yeah. Right on with that. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing, Joyce, because you're helping to break that wall. You're helping to bust through that, break through that barrier.
Hey, big shout out to Bill Bliss. This Bill Bliss, this guy joins us every week, always has great commentary. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I have to just give shout out to the listeners who are tuning in.
What is he saying? You should be Joyce Bender. You should be.
He said, we should all be Joyce Bender. Is what he said.
Should all be Joyce Benders. Absolutely.
So, hey, I want to bring on our next guest. Okay, I want to keep this moving, keep it lively. Joyce, you will be so impressed with this next person that we bring on. It'll be so amazing. Christina Silva does a show called Educating Our Veterans Live. The show sparks innovation and delivers creative resiliency solutions through an electrifying portal into the lives of trailblazing guests. She has had on generals and, high level ranking Air Force officials and all kinds of amazing human beings in the space that we want to bring her into the stream. Christina, welcome to the broadcast. It looks like your mic is muted, so let's unmute that mic, and then we'll be able to chat.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Ryan, and standing opportunity by the fireside of women and the history, and not only that, and stereotype. It never existed, especially to women veterans along with disabled. So I'm so proud American Network for our military and as a voice and naval service, and for Sandra's States of America, and from his golf course at Nellis Air Force to everyone currently on. I want to thank Joyce Bender for a part in the same president, the 1980s to 90s, the Desert Storm era as a Marine during 4 years losing duty.
Hey, Christina, we're having a little bit of issue with your audio.
I want so much to hear her because she's saying wonderful stuff, but it's cutting in and out.
Yeah, and
everyone, is that
it's like every other word that.
You know what, Christina? Let's come back to you. Maybe you can move to a different location, maybe where you have a little bit better cell phone service, and then we'll come back to you because the things that you're saying are very, very, very important. And we definitely,
but it's like it was every other word, and that's the beauty of technology or the brawn of technology sometimes. But
all right, well, what we'll do in the meantime is we'll bring on another fantastic host of radio shows here at Voice America, Patricia Raskin. She deals with relationships, health, spirituality, finances, community concerns. Reclaim control of all areas of your life with the power of positive thinking. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, that's the most empowering thing I've ever heard in my life, especially when you guys are talking about, the mystery. Patricia and I have known each other for a long time. She's an old school host of Voice America. She's been on for 20 years on the Voice America platform. Patricia Raskin with the Positive Living Show. I want to welcome you to this stream because you are a trailblazing women in history as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Hello, Patricia.
Hi there. I think I look a little dark here.
It's
have to turn on some more lights. It really looks dark. Whoa.
We're trying to get this technology thing right here.
Whoa.
So
I can go. Well, it's better. I can go in a room that's brighter if you'd like.
No, I think you're good. And God said, "Let there be light," and Patricia made light happen. That's all I'm saying.
So my history is so interesting with this, Ryan, because I started in 2002. And it was during the time when I had been doing a lot of media. I had done television and radio programs, and the theme has never changed. It's always been positive living. I think my first show way back when was called Positive People. So I was looking for a vehicle back then to be global. And the only way that you could possibly be global was to be on the internet. And now this is 2002. So, I was in small stations, radio and TV, different affiliates of different broadcast networks, but the only people who could see me or hear me were local. So when I saw this come across my desk, I thought, opportunity for people all over the world to be able to listen.
Right.
And that's how I got in. And I remember Jeff Spinard, who's now CEO of the company and is a Rhode Islander, which is where I live now. Yeah. But Jeff, I met at the very beginning. He was one of the first people I talked to. And I always appreciated Jeff because he always was a straight talker. He told you exactly how it is in a very nice way, but you never got the runaround with Jeff. Whatever he said he would do, he would do. And it was just great. And I got to know him. And then I came out to Arizona and I met several people. And I've been with the network ever since. And Yeah, and I believe in, I really do believe in positive living. I mean, it's been my mantra, kind of similar to what Joyce said. I wasn't always positive. I didn't always have positive people around me. And I think, in my upbringing, I had very well-intended family who were wonderful in many ways, but their delivery wasn't always so wonderful. And that affects you. It affects you as a child. And so I have always felt that it's very important to choose your words carefully and to be around uplifting people and to inspire each other and to support each other. And I do a lot of webinars now, a lot of corporate webinars in that area of, communications and stress management and self-care. And I think it's more important now than ever. I think particularly now that we have had COVID, that has made everyone anxious, right? We're in this world of uncertainty, and whenever there's uncertainty, there's anxiety because of the way our brain is wired.
Yes.
So I think we're all uncertain, and I think that this kind of programming, and Voice America does this, and all of their programs, they're uplifting, but showing people what can happen, what are the possibilities, is what's so important. And I've really dedicated my life to doing this, whether I've written a book or whether I've, given a webinar or been on several programs. This is what I believe. And I believe in helping people. Now I help other people do their own shows. So I coach them so they can get their message out there.
Hey, you know what? I think that's awesome what you do. And especially in these times that we're in right now, we're more isolated than we ever have been. I personally have limited my outdoor activities. So, I'm in more. But I have a household, and I have people that I live with. They're folks that are living by themselves. And so they're really taking it hard. It's harder for them, but having some positive messages and giving and being shown examples of, what you can do differently to make yourself feel good or better about scenarios and situations is huge right now, Patricia.
More than ever. I know.
Yes.
And you know what? The other thing, too, that's important to note is that it's not that we have it mastered. It's not that you can say to me, oh, Patricia, you've got it really down, right? No, I don't. I get upset. And people hurt my feelings. I go through what everybody else does. The difference is I've got the tools, so instead of it affecting me for a week, it'll affect me for a few hours and I'll go down. And then the self-talk starts. Okay, Patricia, this is what you teach. How can you handle this? What do you do? Right. So it's really been so wonderful for me. And I'll tell you that the mantra that I use and my watchword is a book by Richard Bach called Illusions. And in the book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, it's a parable. And
it's called Illusions? Okay.
It's called Illusions. And Jonathan Livingston Seagull says, we teach others what we need to learn most for ourselves. And that's what I've always done my entire life. I needed it. I taught it. That's how I learned it.
And walking the walk, because you're right, Patricia. It's a work in progress.
All the time.
It's a work in progress. I mean, you know all the things that you should be doing. We do that. I've just read it, and then I get into traffic or a scenario, and I lose all of that stuff. Right. So it's a constant work in progress for us, and a constant reminder. But having you as a content creator and giving us those workarounds are huge. Joyce, in your space is the same thing. It's like what you're bringing is empowerment to people who have disabilities, and they don't have to feel like they're disabled or have to feel at that disadvantage because you're giving a hope. And through your message, you're not only just giving to folks with disabilities hope, you're giving us all a reason to look at life differently. And to feel differently about scenarios that we make, or we encounter. So you ladies are awesome. I do thank you so much for the work that you do, because you have lives outside of radio, right?
Yeah.
And you're still taking the time. And
I got to chime in on this because what you just said is so important. Like, I have a 7-year-old daughter, right? And so there's this idea of what's called emotional brain training, right? EBT. Which is really important, which is when you talk about living a stress-free life or living, the life that you want, or having, positive living in your life. emotional brain training is really important at any age, because and I tell my daughter this all the time, and I'm like, it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to like have those emotions. It's what you do after that that sets you apart from other people. If you get set into a rut, right, where, oh man, my job isn't doing good, or I don't feel good about this, and you get stuck in your emotional brain and you're not able to maneuver out of that space, that's where things become a problem. And that's what I love about what, both Patricia and Joyce do. You guys don't allow people to make excuses for that. It's like, feel, be, and move on.
What's interesting, I have to share, when I do these corporate webinars, right, and I do them all over the country, from every industry, from real estate to finance to people who make the ships, to motion picture to Congress. I mean, every kind of group and every kind of sector. And these webinars, it's all the common denominator. We all feel the same thing. Everyone's stressed. We all have the same emotions. We all try to figure out what we can do for self-care. It doesn't matter who it is. From, yesterday, the CEO in the chat room privately was saying, I'm having trouble sleeping at night. I'm having trouble communicating with my daughter. Me privately. But so, it affects all of us. And we all have to keep practicing. This is not one and done. This is, Patricia, you teach it great. No, because it's going to hit me in the face again, and I've got to be able to handle it.
Right.
Yeah, it's like martial arts. For me, like, let me just kind of put that into perspective. Martial arts, people think, oh, if I go to some karate classes or whatever, I'm just going to learn how to kick butt and I'm going to be a ninja or something like that.
Right.
What they don't understand is that martial arts is it's a dedication to self-awareness, to self-discipline, to all of those things. And that's akin to what you're saying, right? Is these things are always ever evolving, and your journey versus my journey versus Sandra's journey versus Joyce's journey, they're all going to be a different journey. But how we take in the different olfactory senses of that journey and how we project that into the world at a later date, or how we deal with other people in those particular spaces, those are the things that are important. It's like nobody cares what happens to you. People care what happens to you. What did you do about what happened to you? How did you do that?
And how did you get through it?
Breaking down, especially with Joyce.
Right, Ryan. What I would say about that is, when I teach high school students with disabilities about, the world of work, one thing I also have to deal with is bullying. Because kids with disabilities are bullied more than any other group in the United States. And I teach them this little thing. I'll say to them, what do you do when you want to change the TV channel? And they'll say, oh, I'll get out the remote control. And I said, well, that's what you have to do. When people are saying negative things,
get off the remote.
You got to get off the remote control and say, I'm not listening to you. I'm moving to another channel. Because, as Patricia was saying, if you hear negative things constantly, it has an impact on you. And, people with disabilities, too many people lower the bar. And too many people say, terrible things to people with disabilities. And I always say, as you think, so you are. Meaning, you've got to change the way you think. You've got to make an attitude choice right from the beginning. Another example of that would be me living with epilepsy. A lot of people do not want people to know they're living with epilepsy. And there are even parents that tell their children, shh, don't tell anyone. And I always tell parents, don't do that, because what you're really saying is there's something wrong with you. So once again, with this stigma, you've got to change the way you think and get out the remote control.
Your weakness is not your weakness. Your weakness is your strength.
And one of the things I said about you teach what you need to learn, probably 70% of the people that I've interviewed, and I've probably interviewed 5,000 people, probably at least 2/3 of them or 3/4 of them are people who are writing about what they've been through. Like Joyce having been through it, that's why she's so good at it. Me having been through this with negativity, that's why I do what I do. Yep. And these people write books because they've been through it. They've had that experience and they become the expert. And I think those are the best.
And but here's the thing. I know we want to bring Christina in. Is that right, Ryan?
Yep.
A lot of people have experiences, but they don't do what you do. So there is a difference in that as well, right? There are so many people that are Monday morning, we call them Monday morning quarterbacks, right? They know the best moves and the best plays that should have happened, but they don't do anything about it. So having said that, a lot of people have the knowledge and the information, but sharing it is another, it's a whole different thing right there. So
Sandra, I just want to say one last thing about that. Congressman Tony Coelho, is the author of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Mm-hmm. And he taught me something years ago. He said, when you get a chance to take the podium, speak up. And I always tell him, okay, I listened. I'm at the podium and I'm speaking up.
And thank you so much.
You're right what you said, Sandra.
And what you have done because of that has made a huge, huge difference. Both of you ladies have made a huge difference. Yes.
Yes. Gender equality and equality for people with disabilities is no longer a spectator sport, right? We're not sitting back and just letting things happen. You know, we're taking action and moving forward in a space where people can have, you know, really good talks and really good information about how you can deal with something that you may not be able to control. Right. Mm-hmm. Something I tell my daughter all the time, like, you can only control what you can control. So take what you can control, amplify that message, get it out there, tell people what's going on, tell people how you feel and what are you doing about it. Because if you just stop at the component of saying, oh, this is how I feel, well, it doesn't matter. Great. You have feelings. So does everybody else. But what are you going to do about it? Yeah. That's the important question. What are you actually going to do about it?
Night and day difference. Yep.
All right, let's try to bring Christina Silva back into the stream here. I think she's got her Wi-Fi situated. We definitely want to get her in here. And again, you know, she's experts from all industries. She's been doing all kinds of different things. She's a compassionate ear, a critical voice, a female Marine Corps veteran, and she assumes the responsibility on her own of educating veterans about business development, resources, and forward strategies. So we want to make sure to bring her onto the show. Christina, how's your audio?
I believe everyone.
I'll be right back. I'm going to get some more light.
Okay. Christina, I heard that. Can you keep talking?
Yes. Welcome. And
Oh, Christina, unfortunately, we're having the same issue with your audio.
My apologies, Ryan.
Christina, let's do this. If you have the opportunity to go indoors and get on a computer and join, that would be wonderful. And we can come back to you. We still got quite a bit of time, so we'll come back to you shortly. And then Bill Bliss had a question. Ted Kennedy Jr. Never stop thinking and try to do your best. I think that's directed at you, Joyce.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but Ted Kennedy Jr. lost his leg to cancer when he was 12 years old. So his leg is amputated. And that is what caused him to be a disability rights advocate. Once again, it's always something, you know, personal that has this impact, but he really does fight the fight with Congress, with businesses, and he doesn't have to do this, but he wants to follow his father, Senator Edward Kennedy, because I don't know if you all know this, but if people with disabilities ever had an issue, that's where they went. Well, of course, he's passed away. Right. So now Ted is trying to carry that on.
he's picking up that torch and doing his best. And I've heard Ted Kennedy on multiple programs being an advocate, for folks with disabilities, for folks with just even when there was when families of children who were experiencing seizures and things like that were having to go to Colorado, let's say, because in their state it wasn't a license, it wasn't legal for the parents to get certain treatments, alternative treatments for that. So Ted has spoken out about a number of incidences and been the advocate there, Joyce. But I didn't know that you said that you're teaching high schoolers in addition to all the other work, or this was in your past life?
No, it's now. I launched a not-for-profit 2 years ago called the Bender Leadership Academy, where I bring in high school students with disabilities and teach them A, self-esteem, B, the world of work, how to get a job, and how to deal with bullying. So I did that as a volunteer for like 20 years. And then I got to the place where I said, these kids, they mean so much. I can't let them fall through the cracks of life. And that's when I launched 2 years ago, the Bender Leadership Academy.
So parents who have children, I mean, how do they know about this academy? Is it something that they could enroll their children in? How do they get more information about it?
Yeah, that is a great question. I just want to go back to one thing you said about the marijuana, medical marijuana. You know what? I can't believe you brought that up. You are so brilliant bringing that up. Because Tony Quella, who I talked about earlier, has epilepsy, and he fought that fight because, with medical marijuana, if you are a child, you can have hundreds of seizures a day. And parents were dealing with all of that. And people did not want to use this medical marijuana, but that helps so much. So thank you for bringing that up.
And we don't have to go past that. I just simply was referencing Ted in regards to that. But I believe everything that he was saying and the reasons why he was this advocate, it certainly made sense. These parents, like you say, they're watching their children go through the seizures. It's a painful, helpless process for them. And, the alternative to that would be some medical marijuana. And it's working. And I'm happy to see that some states are still opening up the legalities around that and making it less difficult for these parents to get some real help.
Well, I'm based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we are a state that has gone forward. So I am, and there are children with disabilities. There is sudden unexplained death in epilepsy, SUDEP, and there are children that die from this, and it's the most terrible thing. But just you bringing that up, Sandra, this is what I love about Voice America. Millions of people are hearing this. And so you are giving them advice that they maybe did not know. And so, who knows? You could be saving a life.
Well,
no, 100%. 100%. I mean, we have an executive producer that works at Voice America whose daughter has been on the autism spectrum for a long time and has had seizures and all kinds of different things that she had been dealing with for, a decade or more. And as she's been dealing with that stuff for a decade or more, when Arizona came out with its medical marijuana policy and allowed for a caregiver of a minor to be able to give them those medications, her daughter's life completely changed. Right. She went from a non-functioning autism person to a medium / high functioning autism person because they were able to manage, those seizures and those different things, leveraging, like CBD, and then also a combination of THC and CBD tinctures and different things like that. we could go on forever about medical marijuana. I am so absolutely.
And also, Sandra, I wanted to answer your question. benderleadership.org.
Okay.
benderleadership.org. And Voice America had Karen Slaughter, who's, 38 million books. You know who that is, Karen Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's a movie coming out based on pieces of her. She's a close friend of mine. And if you go to benderleadership.org, you'll see her talking about our friendship. But we have, think of her name now, Karen Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
We have this program, this campaign, Slaughter Stigma. Slaughter Stigma. And I would ask all of you, everyone listening, go to benderleadership.org and take the Slaughter Stigma Pledge.
What is a pledge? Can you tell us?
Yes, that you are committed to helping stop stigma towards children with disabilities, that you're committed to be a parent that would work to fight bullying, that you would be an advocate of children, because I'm very sorry to tell you that with bullies' side, children have taken their own life.
Yes.
As a result of horrific bullying.
Correct, yeah.
So we want you all to help us take that pledge.
Take a challenge. Take the challenge. I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful that you're bringing this up, because it is horrific how these children are what they're going through, and sometimes with that single parent, and the pain that's in that family. Because of the bullying, because of the illness, even Karen Dana with her daughter having the seizures, it was her as a mom watching that was devastating for her, and it is devastating for her. So getting this relief and putting the word out there, what is possible, is huge. And, parents that are working with children who have children who are disabled, and the bullying, it's horrific, Joy. So thank God you're there as that ray of hope, that wall that can't be penetrated, in terms of, helping these children stand their own and be in their own space. You're right. Thoughts equal things. And so if they're constantly thinking that they're disabled, or constantly feeling the pressure of not being like that person that's bullying them, that's a lot of work that they have to go through and sort that stuff out. So
and there are kids that have been spit on, I called terrible names. I would suggest, if you're a parent listening to this right now, and you have a child with a disability, go to that social media. Go to the social media, because cyberspace bullying, if you hear constantly, you're ugly, you're a freak, we hate you, and all of those things, go to your social media. But I want to turn it back over to Patricia, because with her positive thinking, that could help those children.
And I don't mean to interject. I know this is totally Women's Day, National Women's History Month.
Yeah,
and I'm like the sole dude in here, so I don't want to take away anything that you're saying, but I want to interject something, and the reason why I believe so wholeheartedly in martial arts, right? Even children with a disability, or even a standard child that's just regular kiddo, whatever it is, all of those kids can benefit by leveraging martial arts, because martial arts gives you that that sense of being, of who I could become or who I want to be. But it also doesn't allow the nonsense of bullying, right? Because what does a bully hate worse more than anything is the target fights back, or the target fires back. I'm not saying fisticuffs, but in bullying, right? If someone's like, "Oh, you're ugly and you're this," or whatever, as soon as a kiddo turns around and goes, "No, you're not right. I don't agree with you. You're wrong," right? And starts that dialogue process of telling somebody who's being a bully that that's not acceptable. That's where you start to combat bullying. And I'm not talking about martial arts in the way of like, we're going to go out into the schoolyard after school when I'm going to fight or something. You know, I'm talking about the mentality that martial arts brings to children and the ability for that teachings. And it doesn't matter the martial arts. There's a bunch of them, taekwondo, karate, you know, whatever you want to get into. They're all philosophically very similar. But I think that that's very important thing to think about as parents dealing with a child who's autistic, a child who has a disability, or a standard child. My daughter, who's 7 years old, has no issues from a disability standpoint or autism or anything like that. But she's an only child and she's super gullible because she doesn't have any siblings to mess with her. So the only people that get to mess with her are the people at school. And she's like, well, what do I do in this scenario, Dad? I'm like, well, you can't just punch people in the face. Like, that doesn't work. And you're going to get in trouble. But the idea of being able to make a comment, learn when to walk away, learn when to manage that from an emotional perspective. I'm all excited over here whacking my microphone. But anyways, you guys can see how I feel that like martial arts is a way for like kids to of all distinctions to be able to do those particular items and give them some confidence to be able to stand up against the bully, so that way they don't feel like that they have no tools in their toolbox to be able to combat the construction project that they're dealing with.
Yeah, it's
that's called dignity.
Yep,
a feeling of dignity and respect. I hope everyone listens to Ryan about that. Because that martial arts, as he said, it's not about going out, you know, beating all these people up. It's about a feeling of confidence and peace and dignity.
Yep. I totally agree. It is definitely empowering. So, Patricia, when you work with clients, you know, and you came from this space where you had to do some internal work, you know, and get your head right. And so I'm sure you went and studied under folks and met individuals. And, you know, sometimes when we put it out there, that intention in the universe just guides us and leads us to that person that we need to be in our lives at that point. So can you talk about the turning point for you? How did you get into the space of being this coach and somebody who really has, you know, put these tools in your quiver to be able to draw on, you know, lessons when you are in scenarios that could go completely differently?
Well, it started out with my background. My background's education and psychology. So I have a master's in counseling and I was a teacher and a counselor. But I felt frustrated because I felt like I was just putting Band-Aids on kids, and we really needed to empower children and adults to take responsibility and, you know, do some self-care, because otherwise we're helping them and then they don't know how to help themselves. So it started really early on, you know, in my early years. I also really wanted to live to be at least 100.
Wow.
Back in my late 20s, early 30s, it was like a goal.
Really?
And I started reading about the Hunzes. I started reading about the Hunzes, and today, if you look at Dan Buettner's work, who's traveled all over the world, right, and found the 5 healthiest places on the planet where people live and work and are happy, that's what I wanted, and that's what I modeled, and that's what I looked at. So it's been like a lifelong journey for me. And part of the reason that I got into media is that I could even learn more. I was still training and teaching and writing books, but I could learn more because you have a firsthand knowledge. It's kind of like doing Cliff Notes, right? You don't read the book, you do the Cliff Notes. So, you know, you do thousands of those and you've got a lot of synopses. Yep. And so, you know, that's really what I did. It was very much my own path, but I just loved the opportunity to meet other people online and hear their stories and bring out those stories. I think that's been sort of my skill. My skill set is to be able to listen and really bring out the best in that person. I'm not looking to trip them up. You know, I'm not looking to put them on the spot. I'm really looking to understand what went into this and what's the backstory. Okay. And I think that that's made a big difference. And my journey's kind of gone along with that. You know, I wrote books. And here's an example. I wrote a book on marketing in 1990. And I have a lot left of them. So I gave it to a friend yesterday or recently. And she's an executive coach. She said to me, you know, Patricia, she said, that book you gave me, she said, is really relevant. I mean, I said, it's 25 years old. She said, it doesn't matter. What you said then really holds today. So, you know, I was sort of like ahead, like even with Voice America, I saw the wave and I said, I want to be part of this. Not because I want to be ahead, just because I saw it. It's like the vision, right? You see that and you say, I was teaching massage therapists how to market their practices in the 90s. And I said, one day massage will be very common. It'll be everywhere.
Right.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, I guess for me, it's been part mission and vision and sort of life purpose. And also helping me. And I think the other thing that I'll share about this is I learned early on, I did a shamanic journey with a shaman who helped you find your power animal. And I found out that my power animal was the bumblebee. And what do I do? I pollinate through the airwaves. So I pull the pollen and the honey from the guests, right? And I go, poof. So that's what I do. So it's all part of the same thing for me. I can't separate. Right.
You know, there's so many people who have always, you know, I've met people that said, look, I've been virtual for years. So the COVID thing hasn't done anything for them except just confirm to them that they were on the right track. Right. And so now with us, we're sheltering in place and we're not able to get out there and do some of the things that we normally have been doing. You know, but it's good to have a center. We have to be centered and grounded, and we launch from there. You know, my environment has to be one of peaceful and comfort for me, so I can launch stronger out there. So, you know, I'm listening to you, both of you, and in the spaces that you're in, but your personal experiences have led you to be this person that you are today. Right. And it means a lot. It means a lot to this network, I know, to have you both here hosting with us. You certainly, I'm sure, have impacted thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of lives. And, you know, we have hosts that share their emails with us that they get from the listeners. We know that you're not coming back every week to do these shows for no reason. So there's something in it that's continuing to drive you to do this work.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, Sandra, when you think about it, I don't know if you agree with this, Joyce, but I think, you know, when I've thought about it over the years, because this takes work. You know, this takes constant work on yourself and listening and thinking, you know, and sometimes there was like a little bit of an envy for those people that, you know, they're not on this depth. They don't have the depth. It's shallow and they're happy. They do their work. Whatever they do, it's a different level. And sometimes I've said to myself, you know, wouldn't it be easier? You know, you just go do your thing. You come home, you make dinner, you know, you have fun. But when I think about it now, particularly with COVID, I think those people that have not been resilient or they haven't had to be resilient, it's going to be harder. Because when all of a sudden something happens and they haven't had to be resilient, it's going to be harder. I don't think any of us get off easy.
Yeah, no. And it's work. Like you say, it's always a reminder. We have to reflect on what we did before, what we did yesterday, and today's, you know, tomorrow may be a little sketchy, but we'll get there. We'll get that done. So we just have that resolve. But as you blaze these trails, you know, as Joyce in your space, as you stand tall in that space, as someone who has epilepsy, someone who has a form of some type of a disability. But that didn't keep you there. You weren't like, I'm gonna just deal with this. I figured out how to deal with my epilepsy and I'm good with that. You've not stood still in that space. You've decided to get out there and and talk about it and create organizations around that. And thank you so much for that. I can't, I know that you are impacting so many lives because of the work that you do. So when can people listen to your show? When is it on? Where do we reach you? How do we communicate with you going forward?
Okay, so my show is on every Tuesday, 2 to 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I have started a new thing that I'm getting so much comments about, and that's on the half hour. I have a anchor person give an update on what's going on in the news as it relates to people with disabilities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Perry Jude Radisick, the CEO of Disability Rights PA, because I want to keep everyone knowing everything that's going on, and this has been fantastic. But Disability Matters with Joyce Bender every Tuesday, 2 to 3, or Jay Bender at benderconsult.com or Jobs Bender on Twitter. But probably the best way would be Jay Bender at benderconsult.com, or of course, VoiceAmerica.
Right. And your shows are syndicated to all the podcast platforms. So if you can't catch the show live, just tell Alexa to find it and she'll go and give you that show, as well as your show, Patricia. I mean, the neat thing about what we do with these programs on Voice America is we do have relationships with major podcast platforms. Amazon Music was the latest platform that's now, where the programs from Voice America syndicated there.
Pandora's coming.
Pandora's coming. See.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah,
that
so
is great.
Isn't it, Patricia? It's just a wonderful.
Really open up your listeners with Pandora.
Yes. PJ Bellog, I think, leadership.org. Is that you? Who's that?
That's me.
Okay, that's you.
That's benderleadership.org/slaughter-stigma.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the slaughter stigmas.
How did we put that on there? Thank you. How do you add that?
I think there's somebody, Joyce, you know who's doing that?
Yeah, somebody
made a comment on social media, PJ Bollig, and so when people comment on social media and they have cool things,
they're responding,
and I'm able to put that up on the screen with our cool software layer that we got going on here.
Good.
You mean like your number one commenter, Bill Bliss?
Hold on, I have to make a correction. It's Bill Biss.
Is it Biz?
Oh,
is it BISS?
Yes, because I want to say
looks
Bill
like
Biss.
I look like it looks like an L. I thought it was Bliss, but it is
me
the
too.
Biss.
Okay, Bill Biss.
Yeah.
Bill Biss, you are a great commenter.
Yes. Well, and someone wrote to me, and I didn't know how to respond, but just wrote to me and asked here on the show if I was related to a David Raskin, who was a famous composer. There are a lot of Raskins, so no, I'm not. But there are a lot of great Raskins out there, but not that I know of directly. So yeah, and I would like to just put my website up there, which is patriciaraskin.com. So it's pretty easy.
Patricia Raskin, you do coaching now?
What I do, and I actually did this at the very beginning through Voice America. When I first started on Voice America, I started coaching some of the hosts on, how to improve their shows. And some of them that have been longstanding hosts in the very, very beginning. And I've continued with that. Okay. And now I'm helping people put together podcasts. So I help them with title and content and story flow and guests. So I do all of that sort of non-technical. It's kind of like I'm the producer, but not the technical producer. Then I have other people do that. So,
there is a lot of folks that are doing podcasts now and radio, and we meet them as we are expanding programming here on Voice America. But I like the level of support that our host receives as host of Voice America, where we're helping with the marketing and the branding and the promoting of the programs and featuring shows and this fireside chat, these segments that we're doing now with our host, means a lot. It gives us an opportunity to not only expand who we are and create awareness about who we are as a network, but align who we've aligned ourselves with as professionals, and that's huge because we don't just have just any programs on Voice America. The hosts on Voice America are passionate, they're educated, they're knowledgeable professionals, and they care about the content because they know that content is going out there, and who's ever receiving it will act on it. And so you're giving it to us in a way that you're accountable. There are so many other platforms that just talk to talk and they throw stuff out there to see if it sticks against the wall. And, there's no remorse for that. And I don't hear that from the host here at this network. And so I do want to just reiterate how much I appreciate and value your service and the work that you're doing here, because it's really something that makes a huge difference.
And may I say, I would be remiss if I did not say that I have this great producer, Tacey Trump, and this absolutely fabulous engineer, Aaron. So what I'm saying is it's a partnership.
Yeah,
I agree.
We all work together.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, Tacey's been with the network forever and a day.
Yes, I worked with her. I worked with her in 2002. She was my producer when I first started.
Yeah, and she has a fabulous knack for working with professionals and for, just helping you expand. I mean, just express who you are and know how to use this platform. It's a dynamic platform, a very interactive and extremely supportive, but, having that right executive producer is huge as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I can't say anything better than what you guys just said. So, I've been at Voice America. This is my 18th year. I'm right there with you, Joyce.
You were my very first engineer.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. He was. Yeah. First show, right? First show. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's get that in perspective. The network has been around since 99.
That show went off without a hitch. There was no issues either.
Yeah. So the network's been
I wonder why that is.
99, right? And you've been for 18 years, 20 years. So that's a combined knowledge, 38 years of knowledge here on this space.
And it's amazing to watch how this network has grown. From the very beginning in 2002, when there were sound glitches, the sound wasn't always great, and now it's just stellar. I mean, and the things that you've done along the way, you've moved, you've grown with the times. When internet was phasing out a little bit more into podcasting, you kept internet, but you moved into podcasting. When iTunes made sure they were here, then you made sure you were in iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker. I mean, you have really, really stayed with the times, and that's what makes a successful company. Particularly with technology.
I appreciate that so much, because a lot of people don't understand, with all the different, like DIY podcast solutions that are out there, which I know you work with other people in those spaces, but you don't get the same kind of level of support with other places that you get with Voice America. Whether you're doing a standard podcast or excuse me, or whether you're doing a managed podcast, or whether you're doing a full-on live radio show that has a weekly 1 hour like presence.
Right.
All of those things are things that we take into our kingdom. I wouldn't even call it a kingdom. I would call it our space, our digital space. And we talk about that stuff. Sandra knows this very much. Sandra and I are in constant communication on a daily basis, with her being the network director and me, the VP of operations. And it's all about listening to Patricia's and Joyce's and Christina's, and everybody who's on the network. and getting feedback from you guys on how you think we could best move in a direction that most impacts your ability to garner an audience, to do what you need to do. And I implore every company that's out there, like I'm not a business guru or anything like that, but all I'm telling you right now is y'all should be listening to your customers.
You know what, Ryan? Another thing that you did on Voice America, I really doubt that any other podcast had the United States State Department and embassy from Japan with translation from Japan on my radio show. And guess what? Tunisia is next Tuesday. But Ryan is the one that helped me with that show from Japan. It was Ryan. But really, we have another show. But hey, listen, learn to accept.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, I'm not taking it
graciously."
We got a whole team over here.
Yeah, but here's the issue. It's so easy for Ryan, right? I mean, this is what you do. For us, it's not. Yeah, but for Joyce and me, we admire this. We're in awe of what you can do. Do you understand that, Ryan?
Too. Yeah.
All I'm saying is
I am too.
You can't have an orchestra without a leader. You can't have any of those things without an orchestra. If you're just a conductor and you have no orchestra, then you're just waving a stick in the air. But
it's like an actor without the cameraman, right? You're a great actor, like we're great performers, or we do our show well, but without the camera people and without the technical people and the sound people, we're nothing. Think about it.
Giving you the voice.
I think that's one of the things that sets Voice America apart from a lot of the other, podcast hosting providers or whatever they want to call themselves nowadays. They're so early in their infancy that it makes me laugh because, we were doing on-demand audio delivery MP3 before the iPhone even existed.
I remember that.
And so we were doing it in a where I felt like Voice America for such a long time we were just chilling in our own space, and then the rest of the industry caught up to us, and then here we are now in 2020.
Exactly right.
We go, hey, you know what, dude? We've been doing this for a long time. Right. We've been doing all of those things. We may not do that the same way that everybody else does, but that's the difference between what we do. Because guess what? There's people like you and you and you and
right. But I think that's why it's easy for you to adapt. That's why it's easy to adapt, Brian, because you've been in it. You've got that solid base. You've been in it so long, so that when these new things come out, you're like an early. It's easy to adapt because you already have been in it. It's not new to you. It's you're branching out.
Yeah.
I think you're one of the first people in the space, right? I think Voice America is one of the first internet networks in the space.
We were the first one. There was no other one. Back in 1999, when the company launched, there were 2 online streaming products that were available at the time. Number one was what was called Boombox Radio, which was by AOL, which was a music service that they provided. And number 2 was voiceamerica.com with our live internet talk radio. Who the hell talk radio on the internet? And I gotta give Jeff Spinars big kudos for that, because him and I used to work together at AM 1100, which was a local radio station here. And the business model was very similar, but the problem was even with a 50,000 watt radio program, or not program, but a tower behind you, and let me tell you, 50,000 watts is huge. Patricia, you know this by working in standard radio. If you have a 50,000 watt powerhouse AM station, if I don't power down my transmitter at 10 o'clock at night, which the FCC wants me to do, my transmitter is so powerful, I will annihilate 10 states around me in the same frequency. Right. And so back when we were doing those and we had great talk shows that were going on, but they were only, centrally located to that like round radius of whatever the tower was, it didn't make any sense because the people that we were broadcasting and producing shows for were really high-end professionals and really high-end people who had much more of a national distribution need versus a local distribution need. And so Jeff's like, why can't we do this online? Right. And that one question that he asked.
I know. That's what happened. Right.
And here we are. VoiceAmerica.com, the leader in live.
I want to say something about this because I've been on broadcast radio for years and also Voice America. And I want to share this. The difference is, and this is what people sometimes don't realize, is that, yes, on broadcast radio, people will come to you because they're listening to the network. But you've got to deal with FCC regulations. You've got to deal with commercials. You are regulated. Even though I had my own show and I was really, it was my own time and I was totally independent, still I was on that network. So I was considered part of a network.
Correct.
Whereas here, you don't have those regulations. You really you have more freedom and you have more freedom in timing. So it's different. I mean, it's a different medium. And the difference is that on something like Voice America and now podcasting in general, people have got to find you. So you've got to really market. I mean, you still have to market on network radio and television, but not as much because people will find you anyway because they're tuning in. So it's different today. And although the barrier of entry is low to get in today, you've got to market. You've got to have a strong message and a good message because now there's more competition. But I do think there's a big difference between the broadcast and the internet and the podcasting gives you so much more flexibility and it's more personal.
And may I say this also, Ryan, before you own the intellectual properties of your show. And that is a huge thing in this space that you do that you have control so that if somebody wants to throw a commercial on your program that you don't agree with, you can say, no, that's not in synergy with my message. And so I don't want that here. And you get to control that. And you don't have those liberties so much on terrestrial radio.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Ryan, when I knew the power of Voice America? When I was at a conference in Maryland, and I'm walking through there, and someone says, "You're Joyce Bender."
Wow.
And I said, "Oh, of course, you saw me somewhere." "Oh, no, I recognize your voice from Disability Matters." Wow. I thought, wow.
Isn't that great?
Well,
that's the power.
I think that point that you make is important because there are a lot of individuals who say, and I'll be quite frank. Like, I'm totally transparent. I know about the BuzzFeeds, Buzzsprouts, the Libsyns, the Spreakers, all of those different, the Blueberries. Like, I know all those guys. When we go to NAB and we talk about like the status of what's going on in the industry, the last time there was an NAB in Vegas that was in person, I sat on the advanced advertising board and had discussions with the owner of Blueberry, the VP of operations over at Libsyn, a head of Warner Brothers Studios, the guy who ultimately now works for Lisbon, but was the VP of Spreaker, right? And if the National Association of Broadcasting thinks that Voice America's voice is important in the space, why would they ask us to like go and contribute into these things? And there was one thing that I felt that I said that I talked with Jeff about when we got done, when we were like kind of debriefed, that like people don't understand. Like, they have this whole idea of like video killed the radio star kind of thing.
No.
But what people don't understand is audio is the only mechanism that is the most mobile mechanism of digital media.
It's very diverse.
You're not watching YouTube videos, while you're cleaning your house on Saturday or Sunday or whatever on the weekend, right? You're not you don't have the bandwidth available to be able to watch that, listen to that, and still scrub the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love audio so much, because even though we're doing this in like a video capacity, what you all need to understand is that audio is the most portable, compact version of digital media that you will ever find. You will never be able to do multitasking components around your house or around, anything that you do if it's not for audio. Like that's the reason why like all the technology in the world like blocks you from watching videos in your car with like your 73 dash screen with the push buttons and all the cool things that are coming out in automotive. Because guess what? It's unsafe. But we're doing the same thing that's been being done for hundreds of years when it comes to AM and FM broadcasting. I remember the history of all of AM and FM. And in the very beginning, it used to be like, I have something to say, you have the audience, so I'm going to give you money so that way I can get on, so I can get my stuff put out there. Guess what? It's 2021. Nothing's changed. Nothing. The difference is what team do you have behind you? The difference, right? So Joyce,
all about that.
Yeah, Joyce and Patricia, when you guys get on your show, what do? The first thing you do is you're like, oh, all right, great. I got my people. I dealt with the guests, the topic, the whole thing. Like, so I know that. And from a technology base, you're like, okay, great. I'm going to send you a Zoom link or a Skype or whatever, however you guys connect for the show. And at that point now, guess what? You don't have to deal with all the technology things. You can just be you. You can just talk. You can just deal with the guests. You can like interact the way that you want to interact, knowing that you have somebody like me or someone from our team like behind you, giving you the cues, giving you all the things, doing the sound checks, all those things. Like if you go do a podcast on Buzzsprout, guess what? You're doing all of that by yourself. So shameless self promotion. I'm sorry, but
well, no, but the truth is though that most people don't want to do it. I mean, most people, they want to do the show. They're promoting a business. They're promoting a concept. They don't want to learn the technology. Some people do. And it can be done. You can do your own podcast. There's many courses online, how to, but most of us don't. Same thing with honing in your, the content. It's when it's yourself, sometimes it's hard to get that perspective. It's like writing a book. You need an editor. You need somebody to help you, have another perspective. So I think these things are really important. I mean, I think these things are really important to make us, we don't do it alone. We can't do it alone. It's a team. And we all have different skills.
All right. Well, we're bringing in Christina Silva.
It's Christina Silva.
It all worked out. Christina, what's up,
worked
girl?
it out? She's still in her car, though.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, hey, that's a full. I can hear that.
Well, we just want to say thank you to all the women on the show today, my fellow hosts on Voice America, and to the greatest executive production team, Ryan and Sandra. Thank you so much for trying to let me have a moment to say just thank you to the enduring women that make a difference, and to all of our armed forces serving. I am live from Nellis Air Force Base, connecting the Christina Silva Show, educating our veterans live to the voice and to the promise of our populace here in Nevada. And they need to know what educating our veterans live is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, we can hear you. And you know what? Guys, this is some of the stuff that we deal with from like an audio perspective. Christina's literally at Nellis Air Force Base. I'm not joking. She's show us a video. Turn your camera around. You can show everybody where you are. Like no joke.
Elite Air Force in the sky. The Thunderbirds fly across this airspace to protect our nation. And we have our red flag training where our armed forces of other nations come to collaborate. So we have global peace. So you just can't imagine, although I'm at the golf course aboard Nellis Air Force Base because resilience and recreation is key, Our troops are ready to deploy at any time, including our wonderful new Space Force. So with the credentials I've earned in radio, I want to applaud the other females on Voice America. We are relationship brokers, and I dedicate my Marine Corps service on the radio for my 14th year, now on Voice America, to empower and motivate our troops. And when they retire disabled like me or able-bodied, broadcasting, multimedia, and finding creative engines saves their lives. So that's what I want to say before my reception goes and the Thunderbirds fly over with the F-18s. Take it away, Ryan and Sandra.
Hey, Christina, thank you so much for staying with this effort to get on this program, because it was so important for you to speak this way to us and to give us some insight into you and the beautiful and powerful work that you're doing. This theme, it was a coincidence. I think we knew we wanted to have you, Joyce, on, Patricia, and Christina, but the fact that you all are able to get here together at this moment is magical, because the work that you do, it's this a human thread, this humanity thread that's going throughout your work, each and every one of your work. And now, having it, Christina coming on here, obviously we're going to be wrapping this up here shortly, but anyway, giving us this insight into what she does. I'm not wrapping it up. I'm just saying we're going to be, but I'm not doing it.
All I'm saying is, if the Thunderbirds are about to fly over Christina Silva's head, you need to film that for our live broadcast. That is gold. Patricia, Joyce, do you disagree with me on that?
No, and I want to say, Christina, thank you for serving our country.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Nice to meet you both.
I could say some stuff about being a Navy guy to a Marine person, but I won't today.
Yes, thank you, Patricia, and
welcome.
Oh, did she go?
Hey, Ryan, my father's 96, and he is World War II, and he was a Navy man. Navy man.
Do you know what Navy? You know what Navy stands for?
What?
Oh, you don't know?
Go ahead. I'm afraid to hear this.
Never again volunteer yourself.
Oh.
But you know what? I would. This is actually a funny, not a funny story, as a serious story, but a story nonetheless. When I got out of the military, I got out of the Navy in August of 2001. And so when I got home, and I was staying at my mom's house, because I just got home, and I'm laying in bed, and this was August of 2001. You guys know what happened September of 2001, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm going back. Like, because when you get out of the military, they give you like a certain amount of time where you're like part of the reserves, or whatever. And they can call you back at any time. And I'm thinking, like, I wake up in the morning, my mom's like, Ryan, look at the news, and I look at the news, and the first thing that I think is, I'm going back. I gotta go back. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
They never called me back.
And
I want to tell you guys it's like God's plan, right? I didn't get called back for a reason, because you want to know what happened in October of 2001?
What?
I got hired on at KFNX and started working with Jeff Spinard.
Wow.
You mean 2011?
Yeah, God has a plan. He had a plan for you. And by the way, I also need to thank you, Ryan, for serving our country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, God had a plan for you. He knew you would be a radio man. Just think.
That's right.
You guys are spreading around the world so many great things, like what Patricia's saying, and like hire people with disabilities.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Christina's back. There
Hey,
she is.
Christina.
All
Hey,
right,
everybody.
Ryan and Sandra, I'm going to have to run, but and Joyce,
Yeah.
it's been so wonderful to be with all of you.
Hey,
Very inspirational.
let me time out for just a second before you go, Patricia.
Okay.
Please let the listening audience know who you are, when your radio show is, and what they can expect from you over the next couple of months, because it's very important that people understand, humans like you who have been on the air, been doing the work and doing the important work since the beginning, and you've been dropping knowledge on the digital space since before the digital space was the digital space. So please tell people who you are, where they can find you.
Thank you. While you were doing that, I was trying to find my newsletter so I can tell you who all the guests are, particularly for this month. Well, you can find me on Voice America, and on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Central. Pacific. And I'm also rebroadcast on Saturdays, and I believe that's 3 p.m. Eastern. So that's noon Central.
Or 12 o'clock Pacific time.
Right, noon Pacific, right. Yeah, I'm not finding it right in front of me, so I can just tell you, I interview everyone from people who are experts on health to people who talk about racial equality, to people who talk about spirituality and, having overcome something. I just talked with someone about the schools and how public schools are so important. Then I'm talking with someone about resilience and suffering, who is a PhD expert and written 60 books on the subject. Then I'm talking to an executive expert who talks about, how do you handle customers and clients, what you should and shouldn't do. Just a lot of that woman who owns a big company that does vegan and vegetarian meals that are sent out to people. The subscription service, and they're just wonderful meals, and how she got into the whole business. So there's really, again, it's very varied, but the common denominator is that these people are really making a difference. Here's one that's talking about parenting and how can we be more skillful in being parents, and how we can learn to be respectful. They can be more respectful to us, and we can be more respectful to them. So, these are just ones coming up. Then I'm talking with someone about who wrote the first book on the Holocaust and the first women who came through the Holocaust, the first transport, and how they were so courageous and what happened there. So, it just from communication to people who are CEOs of companies that are really there for their employees. It runs the gamut, as I said, from money to spirituality to anything that helps to improve the quality of your life and gives you another perspective. So Mondays, and just go to my website. As I said, I'm also really dedicated to helping people get their messaging out, and so I help them there. So thank you, Ryan.
100%. The Patricia Raskin Show, Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific time on the Voice America Variety Channel. Relationships, health, spirituality, finances, and community concerns. Reclaim all areas of your life with the power of positive thinking with Patricia Raskin. Her guests bring you actual information that's important. So you should probably tune in. Just saying.
Thanks. A lot are authors. Many are authors. And you can hear the shows right on. If you go on my page on Voice America, the shows are all repeated. They are for all of us, which is wonderful. That's such a wonderful feature, Ryan, is that you can go to the host page and you can hear all the shows.
It's all archived right there.
All archived.
It's also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's on iHeartRadio. It's on whatever you guys want to do to consume the content. It's there. So go get it.
Remember tomorrow, U.S. State Department Embassy in the country Tunisia. And guess what, Ryan? Your buddy, your friend is on in April from Japan, Richard Roberts.
Oh, Richard is dope. I love Richard.
So, okay. So Patricia, you have to take off. It was great meeting you. Great seeing you. And, this whole thing, Ryan, with the video now, because when we were in the building, Ryan still goes to work, and I go periodically, but not as much as at 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But we did have hosts that would fly in and do their shows live from the studio, and we got a chance to meet them. But this is a way to meet and see our physically see the host now, because, a lot of our work is we never meet our hosts. We just talk to them on the phones and we just listen to their voices. So now we physically can see, and that's just a wonderful connection and opportunity to do that. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Everybody. Hope we do it again sometime.
Hey, guess what? My home office is the same as my work office. I have all the electronics, so let's connect again.
Okay, absolutely.
We'll magnify the awesomeness.
Okay,
there you go.
It's nice to meet you, Joyce. It was wonderful.
It's nice to meet you also, Patricia, and thank you, Ryan and Sandra, for what you're doing.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Patricia. Is Christina coming back on, or does she have to go?
No, we got her.
She is.
Okay.
Christina Silva!
Woo! Marines never quit there, Sandra.
Yeah. No, I am so grateful for you to stay with us. To hang in there with all that audio stuff that you were dealing with.
Of course.
Where there's a will,
great way to wrap
we
up
will
the show.
survive.
And in God we trust.
Yeah.
So Christina, look, we've been trying to get you on the show. We've been going on an hour and a half on the stream right now, which is a lot longer than what we initially anticipated, but not upset. Love it. If I could be doing something else on my Friday night, this is way more important. So love that you guys are on. Joyce, you're amazing. Sandra, you are amazing. Christina,
I'm okay.
Good audio. Tell us who you are, what you're about, and what you do. Let's solo you out and give us the lowdown on the Christina Silva live from the car. Let's do it.
Well, live from the car, the Christina Silva Show belongs to the people. We are the voice of the greater good for all of our troops and their dependent families to make sure they redeem their earned benefits. We take care of the charitable edge through a family foundation my sons and I created called Cammy's, number 2 Civies, and we married that to a production company called CRS Productions, and out comes Educating Our Veterans Live. It's the vehicle through social media, outreach, and also special events where we join forces with different military branches, and we just love on our troops. We help the fallen soldiers, the bereaving, those that are birthing, and also those that are retiring and transitioning to realize the swallowing of their pride unto their benefits. We legislate. So I've been part of the DAV for my 9th year. I'm a chapter service officer, and I'm also honored to be a U.S. Air Force certified resiliency training assistant. And that encompasses speaking to audiences when they can't speak for themselves about advocacy and legislature for our rights. So veterans earn housing, health, employment, and education benefits, but they don't even realize how imperative it is to claim and redeem benefits. So I created my real estate brokerage to make sure that the charity could fund help to those that want to buy with their VA home loan eligibility. And then with the production company and the charity, we make sure there's no soldier, no Marine, no Coastie, no Naval family, and certainly no airman left behind. So this has been a 14-year plight in radio where we give outreach updates. We talk about the Veterans Administration, and we reduce the risk of suicide and end homelessness. And then we refer Grand Resources and other charitable institutions to our families so they never have to be hungry, shamed, or in need. And that is called morale, welfare, and recreation. And that's why
I'm reporting live from my car at Nellis Air Force Base because we're searching to give our families the digital outreach since we can't meet in person due to social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Enjoy.
That is awesome.
I just want to say,
awesome.
The digital outreach is so important because, like, what is everybody doing right now? Like, how are you guys consuming content? Oh, right. Guess what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely. And that distraction and separation, Ryan, through the cell phone and the disguise and costume of social media with our Facebook profiles is really, truly death-defying, especially to our troops who are already away from their families serving in some cases. Imagine being disabled like Joyce and I and not being able to fill out contracts online or be an amputee or have some sort of learning disability or depression and anxiety. And we are all meant to be corporately responsible for our troops as patriots, so we can reach out to them and see the signs of their need without embarrassment, but with love, because we are Americans and we live with the freedoms and we have to pay it back and pay it forward. So that's why Voice America is such a great network I'm proud to be part of, because you guys have given me the voice of the military ambassadorship that the world needs, so that we can reach out to the families and they can be heard on Wednesdays at 1 on the Christina Silva Show. We celebrate our heroes every week, and we get leadership on the line that is responsible for the troops as well. And that level of accountability at any moment they can deploy to, like Iran, if you recently heard in the news, or Tunisia, like Joyce mentioned, or even to an island far away. Our troops are in every remote location on Iceland, to the waters, to the land, and to the desert where I am. We have to be thankful, right, Sandra?
You know, I'm so grateful that you are this spokesperson, and you are, you know, a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier, about knowing a lot of information and living in that space where you've been challenged and overcome those challenges. But to put yourself in that position, Christina, to want to be serviceable to those different models of the needs of individuals is huge. It's tremendous to take on, and you're so passionate about it. I can see it. I can feel it from you. That means so much. And so in this short amount of time, you've really given us insight into the work that you do and the communities that you're helping, right? And how deep that goes. Because I personally don't think there should be a single person who served in our military homeless. They shouldn't be hungry. Yes. They should not be home. They should be out there living their lives to the fullest, because certainly they sacrificed and gave up their life. I mean, and not gave up their lives, but, you know, sacrificed their lives for our protection. So, you know, to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense that that disconnect happens after all of that.
Christina.
Most definitely. Christina. Sandra. Yes,
Christina, I can't wait to have you on my radio show.
Yeah, you should be on Joyce's show. Yeah.
No, I mean it.
I am exactly honored. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm going to be calling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joyce, you better send me an email.
Oh my goodness. That is so generous of you. I have a special thing to tell you. I worked with the Helmet of Salvation Traumatic Brain Injury Institute in Newport Beach, California, and also with some of the patients with TBI of the military in confidence. The Gary Sinise Foundation, the Salvation Army, large groups, the Dallas Cowboys, many organizations, the USO, and they give to the military, but the medical field gives to our troops so many benefits. The VA has so many benefits, it's overwhelming. But I wanted to say to you, epilepsy is dear to my heart, because that is part of some of the travail that comes from TBI. And I worked with a DAV spokesperson, Shanda Taylor Boyd. She is a teddy bear, and she was the DAV spokesperson for TBI. She was injured in a car accident at the top of her Army career as a captain. And then I also worked with an amazing man with Jimmy Iovine. His name is Steve, and I'll reserve his last name because he is a very well-known musical icon. He was injured and he's currently in a wheelchair, and he's married to a very wonderful friend of mine, Miss Annetta Bryant. And they did some research to prove that we can have our brains rewired to cure and eliminate more seizures. We can have our brains rewired to forget PTSD photographs. And also, I had my personal brain rewired through a scientific 8-week course with Reboot. And I was named with the Ford Freedom Sisters in DC to go through this program. So there is hope. So I applaud you for telling the world about your fall when you hurt yourself. But God makes our weaknesses, like Ryan said earlier in the broadcast, our strengths. And like
yes, amen. Amen to that. Christina,
we're so
I love you. I can't wait to have you on my show because you're a rock star.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, I have to give credit where credit is due. Sandra had already prepared me as the great senior producer she is, and Ryan had already taught me about how to troubleshoot StreamYard. So we just defy the bad reception, and the end of the show is so electrifying, including Patricia, that we want to say to the world, no matter what, I want to thank former President Obama, which I met in person. My very iPhone that Ryan held up and said separates us was approved with my White House press credential in the Secret Service when Lady Obama and former President Obama, my president forever, gave me the rights to attend the DAV's first inaugural lead and gift to Commander Delphine Metcalf Foster. In 100 years of DAV history, she became the first African-American female commander of the DAV, which is the Disabled American Veterans Organization. And it was the economic downturn of 2015 to 2018 where the commissaries and exchanges of the world will never, ever be furloughed ever again. Our troops will always, because of our awesome works of President and Lady Obama, be an appropriated fund. And I'm getting chills saying thank you to all of the commanders of the DAV, to Mark Burgess, and to Daniel Contreras, and to the Honorable Past Commander, Ms. Delphine Metcalf Foster, that we are able as disabled Americans to make change. And we stand with this as a natural born calling. And so that is why I know Voice America is supposed to be my home, and that the defeat of connectivity tried to stop this power we have coming together by the fireside.
That's right.
But Joyce, I tell you, the Senate bill with my other mentor, you won't believe it. I know you're going to get chills, so get ready, Joyce.
All right,
Sandra,
I'm ready.
Ryan, and Patricia.
Boom!
Our Honorable Vice President Kamala D. Harris's senatorial help, the senator of running for the assembly right now in this moment, Heather Hutt, is my personal friend, and Mayor Garcetti and the Senate with Isidore Hall created the Hire a Vet, Hire the Best program. I am the voice on the USS Iowa that was honored because of Heather Hutt trusting my little voice to make sure veterans are the hire, females in business are the hire for $25 million in small business contracts on the Port of Los Angeles and around the world, along with Maxine Waters, our new Treasury voice in Washington, D.C. Also, I'm going to be getting the interview with Miss Heather Hutt. She's an amazing support. And we are just beginning. That Ryan and Sandra thought to cast me on the show at the last minute with you and Patricia. We have a lot of work to do. Can I get an amen, sister?
Amen. I will give you that amen. I'm gonna be a witness. I'm gonna be a witness. I'm a witness, Christina.
All righty.
I'm not a sister. Can I say amen?
You can
say amen. Hello.
You know,
Christina and I are going. We're going to church.
I love it. I love it. Right on. Right on. That is awesome.
I can't wait to have her on.
Yeah,
we're gonna see. There's a reason
for your patience.
Yes.
You know, it's so interesting. This energy with everything.
You guys mean Voice America just does stuff for no reason, or do we just do stuff for reason? Like, what are we doing, right?
Yeah.
You
No,
know
I
what?
mean
The
that
show staying on for over 2 hours.
yeah.
You know, the military
It's
gets off. It's
approaching.
called the end of their day. The reveille in the afternoon happens at
Right.
1600 hours, which now it's 1624. And is it amazing that this declared moment in time is divine appointment? The skies have opened up. It's no longer raining, and there's no more friction on the line. Sometimes in life, if you're listening out there to the 160 countries and over 3.5 million listeners Voice America garners, we all really mean it as continued hosts with so many years tenure, like Miss Joyce on the line and me being the newest host on the network. We are doing this to change lives. And sometimes when it looks gray, I just kept on dialing in, and Ryan was like on the chat, Christina, I believe in you. That's the Navy.
Christina,
Ryan,
that's the difference about what we bring to the table. Like, I know that you used to be with LA Talk Radio. Like, listen, LA Talk Radio is not doing discussions with Joyce Bender, who championed the Americans with Disabilities Act. Like no other place is doing this. Like, this is what people don't understand.
Right.
Like, you can go out into the world and you can go find content like anywhere you want, right? There is 2019 there was 500,000 podcasts on Apple. End of 2020, 1.7 million podcasts.
Wow.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
Incredible.
And
this is
growing. It's still climbing.
Yeah, people, hey, you know what? And guess what? The only thing that makes us better is other people putting out terrible podcasts. Because nobody's talking about things that are important. They're like, hey, I love to do paint and stuff.
I want to challenge.
No, what's important to the American community or any community? I don't care whether you're in Korea or South Korea, like what you do, Joyce Bender, but the same the same reservations that people have in Korea are the same reservations that we have here in America. Like, we're all a free and democratic society. And guess what? I care about every single person who decides to sign their name on the dotted line to say, hey, I'm going to go to the military to go help people. Right? The same thing that Joyce does. It says, you know what? I don't care whether you signed the dotted line. I still advocate for you. Just like Sandra Rogers does every week, every day with what she does. She works with all of these shows, all of these hosts that, like, those things don't matter. But what does matter at the beginning of every day is that there are people like, hold on, you, and,
right,
and you,
and Sandra,
hey, you got that down.
Rogers,
I can't. My pointing is wrong. I should go like this, and you, and you.
Sandra Rogers is not afraid to sing about it, fans. She has an amazing voice that opens my show every week, the Christina Silva Show, educating our veterans live. And Ryan's voice lets you know that we are all about creative resiliency solutions. And I have to say, just like Joyce and Patricia backing up the network, fans, Voice America is the right place to be in this industry because we're going digital and there's no turning back. AI is here. So I just want to thank the host that brought me to the network. His name is Mike Abdir of Mike Abdir Show. And shout out to Beverly Hills Webs. Your hosts and our mission is to bring more hosts and more military veterans to the platform so they can speak their piece and be free. Woo! This is good. It's the good news on Voice America. But with regard to LA Talk Radio, I know where I came from with over 10 years of being in that valley. It's amazing what God will do to hide you in the valley, because when he releases you onto a network that's unstoppable like Voice America, you have to be pruned and ready. And that's when you're grateful to know the difference. So I'm grateful to know the difference.
And look, it produced an invite from the most seasoned, talented host that can help me with my disabilities. And that's what it's about on Voice America in this 4-pane window. We help each other today. And I'm so grateful that we hung on to get to this point. So I love you all. Thank you so much.
How many times, Christina, how many times have you said, hey, I'm on this network versus that network? And people go, oh, shit.
Right.
Like, oh,
only
you're
twice.
on that one?
I'll tell you what. I am like the Marine Corps esprit de corps forever. When I'm with Voice America, I'm going to stay here. And I had been begging to go live for the longest. But the managed podcast episodes are working. The downloads are relevant. And that is because the network has a multifaceted way of marketing your brand for you and with you. And your producer that you get and your engineering team, they push you to be the best you can be. And they'll tell you plainly when you need help to remodify something. So now my Women's History Month compliment goes to the very humble, the very wonderful Sandra Rogers. She has
Amen.
In my career only 13 weeks.
I cannot do this. I can't do this. No.
An unapologetic, very well structured, bold Ash, and I said Ash because Easter's coming, way of getting the word out to sponsors in a new market. And here comes Ryan with telling me how we're going to take digital ads to another promise to my sponsors. I am so grateful that when we cross-pollinate, Joyce should be getting chills right now. Our network is going to be triply impenetrable to the competition. Because like Ryan said, Voice America is the first internet platform.
Yes, we are the first
that is able to penetrate.
She's freezing. Hey, Christina, I think you're
Marine Corps says.
Okay.
The newsletter I got from Jeff Spinard, our author of Voice America.
He's like, hey, we know things are
doing on video.
Okay. So we're like, it's Christina, your audio is coming in and out. And we've been here for an hour and 51 minutes now. So I think we're about ready to, say goodnight and have everybody go out and eat their dinner. Joyce is pretty late by you by now, right? So, but man, I would have to tell you that Joyce and Christina, the synergy that you both have is really thick. I could see it, and there's so much interchangeable knowledge that you both have and can share. So intertwined. What a beautiful thing that you met this way in this moment, and this is something that you've created that is going to last. It's a lasting thing. So we thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I totally agree. From the vice president of broadcast operations at Voice America, I want to thank you guys for you gals. I'm sorry. For you coming into this and like showcasing together like what we do. Like Voice America is not just some like standard podcast platform or like where you can bring your stuff. Like we don't work with people unless you're cool. Okay. Like for sure.
Yeah.
So if you have some stuff that you want to bring to us, hit up Sandra.Rogers@voiceamerica.com, info@voiceamerica.com. We want to hear your feedback on like, what are the things that you guys want to hear about? Because we want to bring those things to you guys, gals.
And I hope that we're able to showcase that we work with when we have women who are in business, women who are in philanthropy, women who are in diversity, women who are in leadership roles that are hosting programs. on this platform, who truly have expressed your voice. You've expressed your voice and you brought clarity to things that are out there and creating some kind of confusion for people. And I thank you and honor you both for that. And of course, Patricia had to leave, but I think that you created some relationship. We've created some relationships here, Ryan, that could be lasting and meaningful. So thank you both for that.
Thank you.
And certainly in honor of History Month, you know, I really want to honor you both for the wonderful and beautiful work and dedication and commitment that you have made to the work that you do, and the stick-to-itiveness to the work that you do, because I know that it's been some struggles and some challenges in all of this. Christina, you just showed us that today. You couldn't get on air. You kept coming in and out of the thing, and you were like, "Nope, I'm getting on this show."
Hey, well, that's what happens when you're on.
I'm getting on the show, and she got on the show
on fleek, you know.
And you've so we've got listeners that are commenting about the energy. Someone said they think you should do car karaoke because you you have such energy, and you're in your car, of course. But you know, look at Bill Bliss. Oh, Sandra, are you Diana Ross? Ain't no mountain high enough. No.
Diana Ross.
I'm Sandra Rogers. So Joyce, do we know where to find you? You gave us your tags, everything about your show, and okay, so we know that. We know about your show, Christina. It's Friday. It's 5:35.
Wait, and she's going to be a guest. Don't forget
she's
that.
Going to be a guest in your show.
So let's do this.
And Joyce on mine.
Yes, vice versa.
Joyce, drop your next couple of episodes. Let people know what they can expect. And then we'll move to Christina. She can drop her stuff. And then me and Sandra will just be in the background. Come on, girl. Let's go, Joyce.
Okay. Next Tuesday, Tunisia. Yes, we are having people from the embassy and disability rights leaders in that country on the radio show. Okay. Tuesday, 2 to 3 on Voice America. And then the following week, we are having one of the most famous disability rights leaders, Susan Duhas, on the show. Don't miss it. The show has become so popular. It's booked. Can you believe this? Through September. But I'll move things around so I can have Christina on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You
know what? And that's an important thing to think about when you're talking about like podcasting or advertising or whatever. It's very important that you guys put things that are culturally and timely into what you're doing, because if you don't, like, you get lost behind. Right, like the show that we did today on Finding Your Frequency was all about women leadership, all about like all of those different things. I go on for like 10 minutes. I won't. But what I'm saying though is like timely content and how it's delivered to everybody is very important. If you don't deliver your content timely to your audience, guess what? They degaff.
Yeah, right.
Christina, what are your shows going to be about? The next few shows.
Next month, it's going to be so exciting. We will have e-gaming experts and also 2 authors that give back to the community, because it is National Volunteer Month of the military. So all of April, we will be featuring self-help authors and TED Talkers, along with an author that wrote a book called Rethink the Way You Move. And I'm trying to set a mini goal to prove to my listeners that someday I'll have Jack Canfield, the creator of Chicken Soup series and the successful books, going from where I am to where I want to be. That's my goal. And then to bring the mid-month to a close, we'll be expecting the one and only Joyce on our show.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look out. We'll have it rocking, man. We'll have the rocking.
Wow, that
do
connection
this.
is solid, Christina and Joyce,
Yeah.
and you have so much in common when it comes to the work that you both are doing. So this is a wonderful way to create this exchange and to continue the work, right? To continue the work.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it.
So thank you for that. I think we're coming up on Ryan. Do you want to close this out there?
All I want to say
Thanks,
is like,
dude.
every host that we have on Voice America is like super cool.
Yeah.
Like seriously. Like you guys don't even understand. Like you can go listen to your DIY. You can go listen to like all these other things that are happening. None of it matters. Like come listen to Voice America because we have stuff that actually makes sense. We have people like Joyce and Christina and Patricia Raskin and guess what? Sandra Rogers, who's been producing shows for like 8 years, who like knows how this stuff works.
Yeah.
So like, why would you guys go do it on your own? Like seriously, like if you want to go do a show on your own, that's great. And then when it fails, let us know.
Yeah. and with that, we're gonna
and thank you, Joyce. Yeah. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Patricia, for joining our live broadcast because it was absolutely amazing. And I have to take a step back and say one thing. Sandra, you are one amazing, trailblazing human being. I love you. I appreciate you. And anything that we can ever talk about together is freaking gold.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you the same thing with you and the work that you do, Ryan. It's going to be a little love fest for a minute, but Ryan has always been someone who has the knowledge. And not only that, the stick-to-itiveness, the staying power, not leaving until it's done, sort of thing. So, when we talk to people,
I'm not allowed to go take a nap.
Yeah. When we talk to people about, hey, you're not going to be on your own if you host a radio show, this is some testament because Joyce, you're saying it, you've experienced it, Christina, and Patricia shared that as well. So it is a network, it's a family, but the drivers, our bloodline is our host. It's individuals like you both who really want to get out there and speak your truth and your knowledge and stand in your space of strength to empower others. That makes the difference right there. And I do appreciate all of us. And this has been a wonderful program. It certainly has been a wonderful 2 weeks of us coming together and honoring women and realizing the trailblazers that are out there, the ones that kick the doors down for us to step into that room and into that space. And we're in there and we're owning it. And that is awesome. That's awesome stuff. So,
ooh, wrong.
Great show. Great show. And we'll be doing the same thing next week.
Sandra, I agree with you so much that people don't understand that there are awesome women behind every man who does what they do. And if it wasn't for people like you, Joyce, Paula, and Christine, I would just be some dude with glasses on. Just saying.
Yeah, you're more than that. But thank you so much, Ryan.
No, I thank you guys for what you do and what you contribute. It's so much more important than just like this facade of like video that we see and like we see. Oh, hold on. Sandra and Christina and this way and Joyce.
Yeah.
And Patricia. Like, you guys are the ones who literally like put forward information that is the most important stuff that motherfuckers can hear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep. I made a. Oh, guess what? Non-FCC. I'm sorry. I love you guys so much. Like, you have no idea. I love and appreciate everything that every one of you provide to our infrastructure, and I appreciate you guys. And I'm not sorry that I cussed.
Okay, you're sorry, but not sorry
because you're a naval sailor.
On that note, I'm gonna go because I have to make dinner. Right, it's a little after 6 my time right now. So no, it's before 6. It's 5:45. But thank you, ladies, so much. Christina,
I'm a Navy guy. I can help myself.
Yeah, Christina, you're beautiful. It's great that you stayed with us and came on, and look what happened. You developed a great friendship, a relationship with the infamous Joyce Bender, who, Joyce, I don't know if your ears ring. Yeah, she's your new BFF, but we talk about you all the time, you know, because there are folks that are out there that want to do shows similar to yours or have a message that's similar. And we say, you can't ever have enough conversations about this. You know, it's just your way of saying it is my way of saying it, and we receive things differently, right? But thank you for the work that you do, and I appreciate you, Christina, more than you know. And I thank you so much. I love you both for all of that. So thank you. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go on that note.
My pleasure.
Okay.
All right. Hey, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Hey, thank you guys for everything. Y'all rock. We appreciate you.